All right, folks. So it looks like Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks has made an interesting prediction, or it looks like he made a prediction a long time ago and he's kind of just sticking with it till the end. Now, on the concept of predictions in general, now I'll do predictions from time to time too, although fairly rarely, to be honest. Usually I just kind of go with whatever the data says, just because I don't think that I'm some sort of divine person who has some sort of predictability skills or something like that. I think it's in general a concept that really caters to people who like to get high on their own farts. Because, like, this idea of people like, oh, dude, I predicted this. Like, it's just weird. Like, what do you think, you're Nostradamus or something like that? It's cringy stuff, all right? And there were a lot of bets placed, a lot of bets slash predictions placed on the Trump presidency. That being, oh, does Trump or Hillary win? That is, will Trump get impeached? Will he be out of office? Will he serve full term? If I'm not mistaken, I think TJ Kirk did a bet on that with his brother. Someone can let me know down below in the comment section. So apparently, I think Cenk made a bet with Anna, where I think he owes her $400 if he's wrong, and she owes him $200 if she's wrong. I don't know if it's 400 or 800, something like that. I want to say it's 400. 800 sounds like a lot, but Cenk might owe Anna $400. But basically, his prediction is that Trump will not make it his full 4 years. Now, we're pretty deep into the Trump presidency, dude. We're like, I think we're almost 3 years into the presidency at this point in time. So, we're pretty deep into the Trump presidency at this point, okay? It's been a long time, dog. It's been a long time. So, let's hear out Cenk, and then we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive slash discussion on this. Let's hear him out.
It certainly has been an epic debacle in many ways. But part and parcel of that prediction was at some point the economy crashes because Trump will do such maniacal things that he can't help but crash the economy. So we're teetering on that edge now. His polling is anywhere between 36 to at most generous as 43%, averaging at about 40%. That is terrible numbers. Terrible numbers already. Under any normal circumstance, you would have no chance at re-election if you're an incumbent polling around 40%. Now, yes, we do have 14 months left. Now, when everybody, including the Trump administration, believes that we're going to hit a recession. If we hit that recession, which is, again, we're on the precipice of, nobody's rooting for it, but it's a reality that even the Republicans acknowledge. Yesterday, we did a story about several Republican senators going, oh no, here comes the recession, right? Then Trump's going to dip into the 20s. And two set of things that are gonna happen. And again, all of this I said from the very beginning. And it's coming to fruition, I believe, as we speak. Look, you've got his legal troubles to begin with, and he's a crook, lifelong criminal. I knew he'd continue to be a lifelong criminal and a con man. But when the economy crashes, that's when the donors run. And that's when the donors tell the Republicans, release the hounds. This guy's not gonna win anyway. He's gonna pull down the rest of the Republican senators and House members. And then there's the Republicans and their driving engine being the donors abandoning him when the market crashes. And they already got their tax cuts. And again, go all the way back to the beginning. I said the one thing they're gonna do is tax cuts. And once they got the tax cuts, they don't need that schlep anymore, right? Or that schmuck anymore. And then the last part of it is Trump doesn't like being humiliated. You think he wants to go and lose 40 states? They're gonna get slaughtered in this next election. So again, you're gonna think I'm overconfident. Yeah. I've heard it 1,000 times before. So, and if you remember, I've been saying all along, he's not gonna get impeached, he's gonna resign. I said, he's gonna wake up, you're gonna wake up one morning and be like, Trump is gone. What do you mean he's gone? Yeah, this morning he resigned. And people are gonna be like, what? Right?
All right, so you kind of get the gist of his prediction there. He basically thinks that he's going to resign. He doesn't even think he's going to get impeached, which he's not getting impeached. That's not happening. But he thinks that he's literally going to resign. Now, when I first heard this, when people brought this prediction to my attention, were like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? I immediately just laughed it off. I was like, what? That's stupid. The idea of a massive narcissist, peak narcissist, he literally looked up to the sky and said he's the chosen one. So this is the ultimate narcissistic lunatic. And, the idea of him resigning from the post of president is really sort of ridiculous, right? It's crazy. But then I heard him out and he swayed me a little bit more from like, no chance to like, I'm kind of not sure. So if we do, if we go ahead and do a little bit of a look here, here's what we got. So we've got I put together a little flow chart here, on MS Paint, classy stuff. So this is basically what Cenk's idea of what would happen would be. Trump is currently polling at 38%. There's a recession incoming. Then the recession will cause Trump to poll in the teens. He says in the 20s. I don't remember if W got to the low 20s or if he got to the teens. I'm not sure. Like 17 and 18 and 19 and 16 and stuff like that. I don't remember how deep below he got. He definitely got to the 20s. I don't remember if he got to the teens or not. And then Trump will resign to avoid the loss in the upcoming election, as well as, I guess, just to, I don't know, stop the low percentage. So, this is an interesting excuse me, this is an interesting thought process. This is an interesting thought process. And there are a lot of factors here that have to go into play. Now, this is maybe more likely than you would think. Although I find Cenk's confidence in the unelectability of Donald Trump to be a bit too high, where he's going to get dismantled and lose 40 states. Again, that's all under the assumption that a recession happens, which I don't know what would happen in a recession. I don't know how people would feel about Donald Trump in a recession. Typically whoever the president is during a recession, really, people go ham on that person. Now, also, it's worth noting that Trump polling at 38% really isn't a problem for him, because you got to remember, I think it's more than half the country doesn't vote or something like that. So it's his block are the people who always vote. So that's all he needs to win. That's it. He's fine at 38. As long as those people show up to vote, he's fine. He's going to win easy. And we got to recall that, there's going to be a possibility of a neoliberal being the candidate, whether that be Joe Biden. That's a scary situation. Kamala Harris, which is increasingly unlikely, although it's early in the primary. That would be also scary. So what that means is we need to ask ourselves a couple of questions here. And these questions basically consist of, will there be a recession? Number one. Without a recession, all of this is garbo. He's totally wrong. There's no chance that he's resigning. No way, Jose. It's not possible. Okay, so that's the foundation. If there's no recession, none of this happens. All of the flowchart is off. Okay, it's done. Now, then you have to ask yourself, will Trump's approval from 38% drop down to the teens or the 20s? Because you got to remember, his base is pretty unwavering. Now, if I had to give my thoughts on what would happen, I think that it will waver. It won't be at 38 if a recession hits. I think if a recession hits, I do believe that would drop to at least the low 20s, maybe high teens. But it's just a fact of life, no matter what messiah it is, honestly. Once that recession hits, there's a bunch of people who are kind of like the fair weather people who just, dip. Like Dave Rubin even said he wouldn't. I think his quote was he would prefer Trump over Warren and Sanders, or he said he was fine with him or something like that, exempting a situation like a big recession. So those are the kind of people we're talking about. I think he will drop. Then you have to ask yourself, will Trump actually resign from office? First of all, not finishing his term. And also the implication of that is that he essentially is dodging a loss in the upcoming election after that, which is, it's debatable. The thing you got to remember is he's the ultimate narcissist, and his brain is also rotting, by the way. He has dementia. I just saw a clip where he talks about how I've never heard of a Category 5, and there's been 4 of them during his presidency, which is insanity. So he's forgetting stuff. He's just, his brain is, malnourished. It's breaking down, etc. So, I don't think he's going to resign, dude. I don't think he's going to resign. Plus, Cenk talks about the donors fleeing, but, what does that really mean, though? Once the donors pledge their money, which they've already done, they're going to continue to do, where can they go? Who's their second option? They're just going to, synthesize a random person in place of him? I mean, I really don't even know. I don't even remember the last time an incumbent didn't rerun for election. H.W. lost, but he still ran. He just lost to Bill Clinton, So, I don't know. The last one might have been LBJ, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but uh, I just don't see that happening. I really don't. Even if all these things follow through, do you really see Donald Trump deciding to resign and not run for president? I just don't see it happening. So, I mean, to me, this is all kind of ridiculous. And I also find, again, I want to say the dude, his sort of overconfidence that Trump will lose, I find that really, really concerning. Seriously. This is bad analysis. Again, if the recession hits, it changes everything. I'll tell you that. If the recession doesn't hit, then what that means is, dude, we need to understand the severity of this, folks. All Trump needs is that 38% approval, folks. He doesn't need more than that to win. Because if a neoliberal is the candidate, he's got a good shot to win. So if Biden wins, I would give Trump at least a 50% chance of re-election, hands down. No one really wants to go out and vote for Joe Biden. Why would they, for Pete's sake? So it's just going to be a replay of 2016. Now, if it's Bernie, on the other hand, if Bernie wins, I mean, it's a wrap. Trump has zero chance because think about it as like a fake populist kicking out the real populist kicking out the fake populist, you know? So Bernie would easily flip all three Rust Belt states, which automatically clinches the election. I also think he'd definitely be able to flip Florida because of his position on free trade and how Ohioans will obviously appreciate Bernie's record and actual support for that. And so I think that he will be able to flip Ohio, and he possibly could flip Florida, and I think maybe there might even be a couple other states that he could flip that went red. But all that he needs is those three Rust Belt states, and that's it. So if it is Bernie who's the nominee, then we're talking about a different ball game. At that point, we're talking about like, oh, okay, like Trump has no chance. But if we're talking about like a Kamala Harris, a Joe Biden, you are in trouble. Like, we're in trouble. We need to be worried at that point. That's seriously going to be really tough. But anyways, with that said, let me know your thoughts down below. I have to say that I think Cenk is going to owe Anna Kasparian $400 because I don't see this happening.